Former St. Tammany Sheriff Jack Strain has been found guilty as charged. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for watching. I'm Katie Moore.
And I'm Sharice Gibson. After 2 weeks of emotional testimony from victims and more than 5 hours of deliberation, Strain now faces life in prison for his 8 sex crimes charges.
Strain was found guilty on all 8 of the counts. That's 4 counts of aggravated rape, 2 counts of aggravated incest, indecent behavior with a juvenile, and sexual battery. We do have team coverage from Covington tonight. Paul Dudley has more from the DA, but first we're going to speak with Erica Ferrando. She has covered this trial gavel to gavel, heard all the testimony. So let's go to Erica for the latest.
Katie, we have heard very graphic and emotional testimonies from those 5 male victims. And today, after 5 hours of deliberation, a jury found Jack Strain guilty on all counts.
The evidence was compelling. The evidence was overwhelming. The evidence was convincing.
District Attorney Warren Montgomery said justice has been served following jurors returning a guilty verdict in a matter of hours in the trial for Jack Strain. The jury unanimously found the former St. Tammany Parish Sheriff guilty as charged for 8 counts of sex crimes, including aggravated rape and aggravated incest.
Jack Strain was a very powerful and influential individual. This was a high-stakes prosecution. And I'd like to commend these 2 prosecutors for their courage in taking on this case.
5 victims testified in the 2-week-long trial, offering graphic, detailed recounts of their abuse by the former sheriff. The abuse happened as far back as the late 70s when Strain was a teenager, and as recently as 2004 when he was serving as sheriff. 3 of the victims are relatives.
One of the interesting aspects to this case is that it's painful is this process has been for the victims. For some of the victims, at least, it's been very therapeutic because they finally had their time in which they could speak about what they suffered, what happened to them.
When I asked Montgomery if he believes there are more victims, he offered a quick affirmative yes.
There were some other victims that contacted us, and but we didn't feel that we needed them at this particular point in time. We felt we could achieve justice, and frankly, it's very painful for victims to testify in a public forum.
Jack Strain is now in custody. Sentencing is set for January 18th, and he does face life in prison for this guilty verdict. Jack Strain, his family, and some of the victims and their families were in the courtroom. Paul Dudley was also there, and Paul, we saw just the reaction from not only Strain but also these victims.
Yeah, and you know, Jack Strain could be seen after the verdict was read, removing his glasses and wiping tears away from his face. He could also be seen hugging his friends and family, including his wife, Lisa Strain. Here's some video here of Lisa Strain leaving the courthouse. She covered her face and walked quickly to her car. She did not speak to reporters about what had happened. About 30 minutes later, Pat Finn left the courthouse. She is the mother of Mark Finn, a victim who testified Strain raped him beginning at the age of 6. Finn is the only victim we are naming because he already publicly told his story on WWL-TV. Here is his mother's reaction to the verdict.
They found Jack Strain guilty, guilty, guilty. He won't be able to hurt nobody else, no other child, to go through what Mark and his other victims went through. And I thank God. I prayed so hard when the verdict was said. I thought I was dreaming. I kept on asking people beside me, did I hear right? Please tell me I heard right. And they said, yeah, Miss Pat, he is guilty.
There were also a number of community advocates who reacted to the verdict as well. We heard from a woman named Belinda Parker Brown. She is with a group called Louisiana United International. She said that this is an important moment for the victims and their families, but she also said it is a moment that is long overdue.
What was going through my head that is well overdue. Justice for the people in this parish was overwhelming. I'm very incredibly emotional because it hurts so bad when we have powerful people in position that betray our trust.
Jack Strain left the courthouse, headed to the St. Tammany Parish Jail. Eventually, after the sentencing phase, he will head to a correctional facility, and as Erica stated earlier, he faces life in prison without the possibility of parole. I'm Paul Dudley reporting Eyewitness News. Back to you.